Hello everyone, welcome to CAT4MBA family. And guys, this is a session that is meant for CAT 2021 aspirants. Okay, so guys, what I'm going to discuss today is the CAT verbal strategy. Like, what should be your verbal strategy if you are a student who is planning to write CAT 2021, right? And I think this session will address many of the concerns that many people have when it comes to the CAT verbal strategy, and I hope a lot of your questions will get answered. Okay. Okay, so guys, something about myself. My name is Himanshu. I am an MA and MPhil in English Literature. I have 11 years of CAT training experience. I had a 99.74 percentile on the CAT verbal section. So guys, these are some of the batches that we have on the Unacademy app. Okay, so you can have a look at these batches. So this batch started on December 21st. Um, So a lot of prominent faculties are teaching on an academy. So guys, you can have a look at some of these batches that we have. Okay, so you can see a lot of prominent faculties. Mr. Arun Sharma is also taking session. Okay, so you can join any of these batches if you are on the Unacademy app on the Plus platform. Okay, guys. So this is a batch that I'm running. It started from 24th of December, that is yesterday, and the timing for this batch is 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. This is a batch that is relevant for ZAT aspirants. This is a batch on critical reasoning. Okay, so I hope all of you are following us on YouTube and Telegram. Okay, if you're not, okay, please do that. So guys, this is an important message. So what you see on the screen is my code. Okay, so my code is HSING. Now, anyone who wants to take the plus subscription can use this code to his advantage, because using this code will give him a discount of 10% on the total fee amount. Okay, so currently the total fees for the CAT program is 17,500. If you use my code, okay, the fees goes down by 10% and becomes 15,750. So that is one thing, guys. You can use this code to get that discount. HSync. The second thing is that even if you are not taking the paid version, you are still just looking at the free content that we have on the Unacademy app. Okay, so in that scenario also you can use this as a referral code. Okay, so you can use this as a referral code, and once you use my code as referral, then you will get access to the free content that is provided in the form of special sessions of all the educators available on the Unacademy app. Okay, so you can actually use it in both the ways. Okay, you can use it for paid content, you can also use it to access free content. Okay, so guys, now let's get started with the topic that is the target for today, that is CAT verbal strategy 2021. Okay, so guys, like I have written CAT myself. I've written CAT thrice. I had a 99.74 percentile on the verbal section of CAT. So, and I've been teaching students for the last 11 years. So I have a fair bit of idea as to how the preparation would happen. ठीक है, तो कुछ बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीजें हैं that we have to keep in mind when it comes to the strategy part. And guys, these things that I'm going to talk about are going to be very general pointers, right? There are going to be certain things which are specific to an individual, but what I'm going to stress on are these general things that we all need to focus on. ठीक है, so क्या क्या जनरल चीजें हैं जो हमें फोकस करनी है. ठीक है, मैं मेन उस चीज को एड्रेस करूंगा. ठीक है, I'm going to talk about some of the general things, okay, that we need to focus on. Okay, so let's first look at the pattern, guys. Let's first look at the pattern. Okay, so pattern is that every year you have questions that are majority reading comprehension. Okay, so you have comprehension that is more or less a permanent section. Okay, so every year the RC is going to come, and then guys you have around 8 questions on the verbal ability. Now traditionally there used to be 34 questions on the English section, but now the number of questions on the verbal section has gone down. Okay, so एक टाइम था कि जब आपके पास 34 क्वेश्चंस का सेक्शन होता था, ठीक है, वर्बल सेक्शन में, बट अब जो नंबर ऑफ क्वेश्चंस है वो कम हो गया है थोड़ा सा. ठीक है, सो नाउ लाइक ऑब्वियसली आई डोंट नो दैट दिस इज अ चेंज फॉर दिस ईयर, लाइक इट मे कंटिन्यू, बट देन I believe that this is because of a certain extraordinary circumstances. Okay, so maybe this is only for this year that we have a fewer number of questions on CAT. But then because this is broad, okay, so I'm going to talk about some broad things that you need to focus on when it comes to the verbal strategy. Okay, तो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल आपको क्या करना है. ठीक है, देखो, आपने अपनी प्लानिंग स्टार्ट की. यू नो दैट यू वांट टू राइट कैट इन 2021. Okay, the very first thing you need to understand is that you have to make your mindset, right? ठीक है, कि कैसे क्या क्या चीजें हैं जो आपकी आपको करनी है, ठीक है। सबसे पहली चीज जो आप करोगे, द वेरी फर्स्ट थिंग दैट यू विल डू इज दैट यू विल लुक एट द सिलेबस। Okay, you will see what sort of questions get asked in the CAT exam. Okay, so you will see that there are questions on reading comprehension, there are questions on parables, there are questions on critical reasoning, there are questions on sentence completion, there's questions on odd one out, and then you will also find that how the pattern of questions has evolved. Okay, so if you look at the last 3 4 years 5 years, you find that the number of questions on critical reasoning has gone down. There have been no questions of grammar and vocabulary, right? So you just need to make a perspective. Okay, so you just make a perspective as to how the things are happening, ठीक है। तो आपने उस चीज के बारे में एक पर्सपेक्टिव बनाया कि किस तरीके से चीजें जो है वो चल रही है, ठीक है, हाउ द थिंग्स आर हैपनिंग। Okay, so the very first step in the verbal strategy is trying to understand the syllabus and the pattern. Okay, so you just look at the syllabus, you just look at the pattern, you look at the PYQs. Okay, then obviously you realize that okay, these are the sections that we have. These are my strength. These are my weaknesses. Okay, maybe I'm very good with reading comprehension. I'm not very good with verbal ability. या जो भी है, ठीक है. But then you analyze, you look at the whole thing, right? Okay, you look at the pattern, you look at the past year papers and everything, right? Understanding the difficulty level, guys, this is very important. If you look at the other typical exams that happen in India, if you look at any other exam, okay, you look at SSC, you look at banking, okay, you will find that CAT as an exam has a slightly higher level of toughness. Okay, now that does not mean that the exam is actually tough. It simply means that the questions are going to be of tougher level, but obviously the cutoffs that we have on CAT are much lower as compared to the cutoffs that you might expect in some of the easier exams. Okay, but you have to really look at the difficulty. अब ये चीज इसलिए इम्पोर्टेंट है बिकॉज यू शुड अंडरस्टैंड दैट व्हेन इट कम्स टू सजेशंस लाइक रीडिंग नॉवेल्स and like reading blogs and all that, you might find that some of these suggestions might not work because the sort of content that we find in a lot of these things like novels, etc., okay, might not work in our favor. Okay, like the content might be too easy. ओके, सो जैसा जनरली होता है कि भी हम लोग एक रैंडम सजेशन देते हैं कि भाई यू शुड रीड नॉवेल्स, यू शुड रीड दिस बुक, यू शुड रीड दैट बुक। ओके, देन गाइस यू हैव टू कीप दैट इन perspective that assuming that cat has a certain minimum level of difficulty that we have, okay, obviously those suggestions might not work. Okay, so you have to keep that in mind. Okay, देन गाइज यू हैव टू प्लान हाउ मच टाइम यू कैन डेडिकेट टू प्रिपरेशन, ठीक है। आपके पास एक्चुअली कितना टाइम है, डेडिकेटेड टाइम जो आप प्रिपरेशन को दे सकते हो। ओके, बिकॉज सी व्हेन यू प्लान फॉर 2021, ओके, ऑब्वियसली योर प्लानिंग इज इन रिस्पेक्ट ऑफ लाइक द अपकमिंग 1 ईयर, ठीक है, कि नेक्स्ट 1 ईयर में किस तरह से चीजें चलेंगी। So guys, you have to be very, I would say, very considerate. Okay, and you have to be very practical. Okay, because see, we might think that maybe I can afford to give 7 to 8 hours every day, 6 hours every day, but then you have to understand that that there is a factor of practicality. Okay, so you have to be practical about how much time you can give. Okay, you have to plan that, right? Okay, time कितना आप दे सकते हो? Making your mindset. Is CAT really the exam that you want to write? If CAT is the exam that you want to write, how much sacrifice or how much effort are you ready to put in? ठीक है, कितना टाइम आप दे सकते हो? If CAT does not click, what are the other exams that you're looking at? यार देखो ये factor बहुत important है. A lot of people start with only CAT in mind, and the problem is that if they flunk in CAT, if CAT does not go as per their expectations, then the problem that happens is that now they're not able to do anything because now the CAT has gone down. Okay, and for the other exams they have not prepared. Okay, because see guys, the other exams ka syllabus is sometimes very different from the CAT ka syllabus. So you need a backup strategy if you are considering other exams also. So when you are looking at other exams, okay, you need a strategy for that also. ठीक है, so ये चीज बहुत important है because like sometimes like when you don't plan for those other exams, okay, then what happens, okay, then the natural consequences that once the CAT goes awry, okay, then you don't know exactly how to deal with the situation. सेल्फ स्टडी वर्सेस कोचिंग, ठीक है। देखो यार मैं यहाँ पे एक सजेशन दूंगा, सेल्फ स्टडी इज समथिंग that everyone needs to do. Okay, for verbal, self study is something that is absolutely the must. Coaching is something that provides you a support. Okay, it's like a supplement. Okay, so एक हम जब सेल्फ स्टडी कर रहे हैं तो हमारे पास एक मोटिव है कि भाई ऑब्वियसली वी आर लाइक प्लानिंग फॉर एग्जाम एंड ऑल दैट. Okay, and coaching is something that gives you an additional boost. Okay, but sometimes the coaching might not be needed. And again, one question to consider is like, what sort of coaching? Is it an online coaching? Is it a physical coaching that we're talking about? Now, in the present scenario, we find that physical coaching is something that is an absolute impossibility. Okay, right? Like right now, you don't really, you can't even imagine getting into a physical coaching institute. Okay, so the selection of whatever coaching, online or physical, you are making has to take all the practical realities in consideration. Okay, now guys, I believe that competitive exams are meant for those people who are self-motivated. That means that as a person, as an individual, if you're self-motivated, then you might not require any external boost or any external motivation to get you into the exam. Okay, so you have to understand that as well, right? You have to understand that as well. तो मुझे लगता है कि self study सबसे ज़्यादा important है. And then obviously as a supplement, as something that adds on to your preparation, you can take the help of an online coaching. Okay, like for example, you can consider Unacademy, or for that matter, any coaching that you think gives you the best benefit or maximum return on investment. Okay, so यार अब आते हैं मेन एक चीज पे, that how and what should be done, right, in the next 12 months. कैसे करना है, क्या करना है, ठीक है. So guys, verbal breakup is reading comprehension and verbal ability. Now traditionally, if you see, it is seen that the if you look at the pattern of the last 6 7 years, now this is my observation that verbal ability ka difficulty has been modest. Okay, like it has been moderate. Okay, and in fact in some years the verbal abilities difficulty has been on the lower side, and reading comprehension is something that is unpredictable. Sometimes you have reading comprehension that is tough, sometimes you have reading comprehension that is not so tough. Okay, तो वेरी करता है, ठीक है. अच्छा, अब कैसे प्रिपरेशन करें, व्हाट शुड बी दी होल लाइक द एंटायर थिंग, राइट. ठीक है, तो सबसे पहली चीज जो आप करोगे वो ये है दैट यू फर्स्ट सेलेक्ट द स्टडी मटेरियल. Now guys, there are a lot of books available in the market, and then there is a lot of content to read. Okay, so let me break it up like this. When I say study material refers to your PYQs, that is past year questions. Study material refers to your mocks. Study material also refers to your chapter wise completion of topics. Okay, there are a lot of books that give you a chapter wise coverage of topics. And then study material obviously also refers to the material that you get from your coaching online or offline. ठीक है, तो आपका ये सब कुछ स्टडी मटेरियल है. ठीक है, तो फर्स्ट स्टेज क्या थी? फर्स्ट स्टेज वाज दैट we we decide our capabilities, we decide what we want to do in the upcoming 1 year. We look at the past year question papers and all that, right? तो अभी आपको एक आइडिया लग गया कि यार क्या क्या चीजें हैं, कैसे क्वेश्चंस आ रहे हैं. ठीक है, नाउ यू हैव लुक्ड एट रीडिंग कॉम्प्रिहेंशन आल्सो, you have looked at parables also. Now you have some idea of the difficulty of the questions that comes in the exams. ठीक है, you also realize that okay, there are some questions that are teeter type. ठीक है, now on the basis of that you choose your study material, right? Okay, you choose your study material. Now irrespective of the study material that you choose, okay, one thing that is always going to be there is your reading वाला part, right? कि आपका on a daily basis you are reading something. ठीक है, क्या रीड कर रहे हो आप, ठीक है, क्या रीड कर रहे हो. रीडिंग के अंदर देखो आपका क्या रीडिंग चल रहा है. ठीक है, यू आर रीडिंग न्यूज़पेपर्स, दैट्स फॉर श्योर. ओके, दैट इज योर इंडियन एक्सप्रेस. ठीक है, यू आर रीडिंग इंडियन एक्सप्रेस. ओके, देन यू हैव न्यूज़पेपर्स लाइक हिंदू. ओके, यू आर रीडिंग द हिंदू. ठीक है, देन यू आर आल्सो रीडिंग सम मैगजीन्स. ओके, मैगजीन्स लाइक इंडिया टुडे, आउटलुक, कैरावैन, आप वो सब भी रीड कर रहे हो. देन you are also looking at some of the websites, okay, like Eon Essays. You're going through some of the good content that you have there. ठीक है, आप उन websites को भी देख रहे हो, उनमें देख रहे हो कि किस तरह का content है. Okay, तो ये चीज आपकी चल रही है. Now I usually suggest that when it comes to preparation, you should do passages in a chunk of 4 to 5 passages back to back. Now there's a question that a lot of people ask. The passages comprehension has a weightage of around 60 to 70% in the actual CAT exam. So should we practice passages every day? Okay. See, guys, my answer is that you have to practice passages on alternate days. Okay, and you have to take them in a chunk of 4 or 5. Don't do them individually. Like don't do them like one passage kabhi kar liya, second passage kabhi kar liya. Nahi. The best strategy is that you do passages every alternate day, and then you give as much time or even more time to the analysis. ठीक है, तो passages करने हैं. ठीक है, passages के अंदर आपको क्या करना है? You have to pick them in the set of 4 or 5. Okay, take 5 passages back to back. Okay, take 5 passages back to back, and in the initial stages don't focus on time, focus on accuracy. ठीक है, अब ये मत सोचो कि यार यूजुअल टाइम हमें पता चला है, वेबसाइट्स में बोलते हैं लोग कि 8 to 10 मिनट्स लगना चाहिए, मुझे तो 12 मिनट्स लग रहा है, मुझे 15 मिनट्स लग रहा है. नहीं, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. When you start the preparation and when you look at comprehension, I think that time is of least relevance. What is important, guys? When you start preparation, right? When you start preparation, ठीक है, तो सबसे ज्यादा जो important चीज है वो है आपकी accuracy. ठीक है, आपको जो चीज आप पढ़ रहे हो वो समझ में आ रही है कि नहीं आ रही. That is the most important thing. Because see what happens, हम लोग preparation start करते हैं, एकदम से फोकस कर देते हैं टाइम मैनेजमेंट पे. ठीक है, उससे प्रॉब्लम ये होती है दैट accuracy is something that we are not able to work on. Main चीज CAT में I believe is accuracy, right? Starting में you focus on accuracy, and then obviously as the things start to happen, okay, as you start getting accuracy, then you can start focusing on time management also. But starting में it is accuracy. So that is one thing. Then once you are done with the chunk of 4 to 5 passages, okay, then there has to be like approximately the same amount of time that you dedicate for analysis or even more. Okay, like for example, if I assume that to do 5 passages you take approximately 1 hour. Okay, assuming that for every passage you're taking around 12 minutes, right? Okay, 10 to 12 minutes is the average time that you take in the starting. Okay, and for the analysis you again need 1 more hour or even 2 hours or 1.5 hour. Okay, so what I'm trying to say here, analysis is very important. You have to take passages not as individual passages but in a chunk of 4 to 5 and do them on alternate days so that you are not under undue pressure. Okay, and then it obviously gives you more time to work on the reading core reading skills rather than just trying to check yourself on your current level of competency. ठीक है, अच्छा तो ये चीज एक हो गई. ठीक है, second, what is my suggestion? My suggestion is that every day in the morning dedicate around half an hour to 1 hour for reading. Now why do I say that half an hour to 1 hour? Because see guys, it depends on what is your biggest challenge. Now if there's a student who is very weak in mathematics, obviously he needs to work on the maths first, right? Okay, and then there are some people who are extremely bad in English, then obviously they need to give more time to reading and all that. Okay, अब मेरे देखो यहाँ पे suggestions हैं 2-3. ठीक है, one, newspapers should always be a part of your overall reading strategy. Okay, when you pick up a newspaper, the target is not to read the entire newspaper. No, that's not the target. ठीक है, आपका target ये नहीं है कि आपको पूरा newspaper read कर लेना है. No guys, that is not your target. That is absolutely not your target. Okay, your target when it comes to newspapers is simply to select 6 to 7 high quality articles and to read and analyze those 6 to 7 high quality articles. देखो, when you open a newspaper, first select the articles that you want to read. ठीक है, look for such topics that are usually asked in the competitive exams. ठीक है, अभी जैसे मैंने जो आपको पहला सजेशन दिया था that you have to look at PYQs and you have to really look at the है ना, like the overall difficulty and all that. So once you do that exercise, you already have some idea as to what the difficulty level of the paper is, right? ठीक है, तो आपका एक सेंस आपको आ गया है कि क्वेश्चन पेपर का डिफिकल्टी लेवल किस तरीके से रहने वाला है. ठीक है, सो यू ऑलरेडी हैव सम सेंस ऑफ द डिफिकल्टी, राइट? ओके, यू ऑलरेडी हैव some sense of difficulty of the paper, right? Okay, so that is one thing. So now once you start with your with your reading, so you now know that exactly which type of topic would be asked in the exam, right? जैसे मैं आपको एक एग्जांपल देता हूँ, जैसे लेट्स से देयर इज अ टॉपिक ऑन लेट्स से ग्लोबल वार्मिंग, or for example there's a topic on let's say cultures in India. So you might pick those topics because you know that okay, social affairs and global affairs are a part of our overall like you know, the type of topics that come in the CAT exam. ठीक है, अगर कोई ऐसा article है which talks about the BJP strategy in Tamil Nadu, then you may decide not to read that article because such topics which are like so specific to a particular political party are very rare in competitive exams. ठीक है, तो मुझे लगता है कि भाई एक आपको एक आइडिया लग जाता है. ठीक है, एंड selection is guys very important because you cannot obviously read the entire newspaper, so that is out of question. Okay, so yeah, so reading comprehension plan, what to read. Okay, my suggestion would be start with newspapers and then magazines. ठीक है, देखो यार newspapers और magazine का एक छोटा सा difference है. Newspapers में you get the news of what happened yesterday, and in magazines you get an overall perspective of the entire topic. ठीक है, so if you ask me that okay कि यार newspapers के साथ magazines क्यों पढ़नी चाहिए, तो उसका reason ये है that let's say you are reading a certain topic. Okay, a newspaper would usually provide you the updates about what happened yesterday, and a magazine will give you an overall picture. ठीक है, तो मुझे अगर उस टॉपिक के बारे में एक ओवरऑल पिक्चर बनानी है, ठीक है, विच इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू अंडरस्टैंड द न्यूज़पेपर आल्सो, then I need some magazines as well. Now guys, apart from that you can also go in for novels, but when you select novels, be cautious of commercial literature. Okay, now in the market the majority of the books that sell are commercial literature. Commercial literature is the sort of literature that is meant for audience who have problems comprehending something that is too abstruse or too beyond the normal audience का understanding. ठीक है, तो आपको जो सिलेक्शन करना है वो करना है ऐसे novels का which are actually good novels, right? Okay, going for writers like Salman Rushdie or maybe George Orwell. Okay, and these novels which are going to benefit you for CAT might not be the most interesting stuff that you will find, right? Okay, there is more interesting stuff available in the market, but मुझे पता है कि यार मेरा जो पर्पस है वो इंटरेस्ट से ज्यादा कैट प्रिपरेशन है, so like I would obviously focus more on the preparation part, not on the interest factor. Okay, so how many passages should you practice? Okay, my suggestion is that practice 4 to 5 passages in a single chunk. Okay, and practice them on alternate days. ठीक है, with full analysis. Alternate days with full analysis. Importance of analysis. ठीक है, देखो यार importance of analysis मैं आपको सिर्फ दो चीजें बताता हूँ what I think. देखो, if you know a question and you already know how to answer this question because you have encountered a similar question in the past, or maybe there's a pattern of reasoning that you've already understood at some point of time in the past. ठीक है, तो उस क्वेश्चन को आप आंसर भी करोगे तो आपको बहुत ज्यादा बेनिफिट नहीं होगा. ठीक है, फॉर अ वेरी सिंपल रीजन दैट it's just like equivalent to reinventing the wheel. Okay, because you already know how exactly to solve that question, right? Okay, but when there's a question that you get wrong, and then you look at the logic given by the author, and then you go back to the passage and realize that okay, this is something that I missed. Okay, then guys, that is the point where the learning happens. हम में से ज्यादातर लोग क्या करते हैं, we do a passage, we check the answers and that's it, which essentially is wasting your time because you're not looking at those questions which you got wrong. And the reason is because it requires a lot of effort. ठीक है, wrong answer अभी wrong क्यों हो गया, ठीक है, उस reasoning को समझने के लिए भी हमें बहुत ज्यादा effort लगता है. ठीक है, so that effort is something that sometimes like you know stops us from getting into that activity. Okay, so that is why we like you know we don't get into the analysis. ठीक है, तो वो एक चीज थोड़ा हमें थोड़ा सा ध्यान रखना है. ठीक है, टाइम मैनेजमेंट वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. देखो टाइम मैनेजमेंट का मीनिंग यहाँ पे वो नहीं है. ठीक है, इट्स नॉट द टाइम मैनेजमेंट पर पैसेज, दैट इज नॉट व्हाट आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट. टाइम मैनेजमेंट मीन्स ओवरऑल टाइम मैनेजमेंट, राइट? यू हैव टू रियलाइज व्हाट आर द स्ट्रेंथ्स एंड व्हाट आर द वीकनेसेस, एंड अकॉर्डिंगली यू हैव टू लाइक डिवाइड योर टाइम. ठीक है, अभी तुम्हें एक चीज समझनी है, कुछ एग्जाम्स में कट ऑफ्स होती हैं सेक्शनल, कुछ एग्जाम्स में सेक्शनल कट ऑफ नहीं होती. लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल इन ज़ैड देयर मे बी सम कॉलेजेस व्हिच डोंट हैव एनी सेक्शनल कट ऑफ. तो अगर आपके माइंड में एक स्ट्रैटेजी है तो हर एग्जाम को लेके कुछ ना कुछ आप प्लान कर रहे हो. ठीक है, कैट के लिए ऑब्वियसली यू नीड कट ऑफ्स इन एवरी सेक्शन, यू कैन नॉट जस्ट फेल इन वन सेक्शन, राइट? ठीक है. So according to your strengths and weaknesses and according to how much time you need to master a certain topic or a certain section, you have to really decide your टाइमिंग फॉर एवरी डे. ठीक है. आपको इसमें ये भी सोचना पड़ेगा कि आपके पास प्रैक्टिकली कितना टाइम अवेलेबल है. ओके. इफ अ पर्सन इज ऑलरेडी busy with something else and like he cannot like really leave that responsibility or that, like, let's say you're an employed person and like you already have some responsibility and all that. Okay, then accordingly you have to plan, and then it will also help you to keep your goals more realistic, because you also realize that how much how much result you get in the actual exam is also in some way a factor of how much effort you put in. Okay, so when you know that exactly what amount of time you can afford to put in, okay, then you also have a sense of a more I would say a more practical sense of like how much can you achieve, right? लॉन्ग टर्म वर्सेस शॉर्ट टर्म स्ट्रैटेजी. देखो लॉन्ग टर्म वर्सेस शॉर्ट टर्म स्ट्रैटेजी का देखो मैं दो तीन चीजें यहाँ पे ऐड कर देता हूँ. ठीक है. इन लॉन्ग टर्म स्ट्रैटेजी फोकस मोर ऑन रीडिंग, फोकस मोर ऑन एक्यूरेसी, फोकस मोर ऑन अंडरस्टैंडिंग, फोकस मोर ऑन एनालिसिस. ओके. In the short term strategy, focus more on time management, focus more on mocks, focus more on like how you will handle the paper on the D day. ठीक है. क्योंकि जो स्टार्टिंग के 7-8 मंथ्स हैं, 6-7-8 मंथ्स जो है वो स्किल बिल्डिंग के हैं. स्किल बिल्डिंग is something that takes time. Like for example, for reading you require a certain skill, you require the groundwork, you need vocabulary, you need grammar, right? तो वो सारा स्किल है. Last के 2-3 months are more about mocks and time management and time per question and like how you would complete the paper in the given time limit. Okay, like वो सब चीजें. ठीक है. तो there is obviously a distinction, right? Okay, so guys, coming to verbal ability strategy now let me tell you my way of looking at it. Now traditionally you will find that every year around 40% questions are from verbal ability, like 60% is from reading comprehension, 40% approximately is from verbal ability. So what are the benefits of verbal ability? First of all, verbal ability questions are standalone questions, right? Standalone questions means you can afford to give them 30-40 seconds, and even if you don't know the answer you can just leave them and move on to the next question. So your investment is not much. On the other hand, if you look at the 5 passages that you get in the CAT exam, which can be scoring, I'm not saying that, but the problem is that in order to ascertain whether or not you'll be able to answer a passage, you need to make an investment of time of at least 5 to 6 minutes. Then you realize that हाँ यार इस passage में कितना हमें हो रहा है कितना नहीं हो रहा. On the other hand, standalone questions में you just need 30-40 seconds. You quickly get a sense of whether or not you can do that question, and if you decide not to do that, you can just leave it. Okay, so that is one thing. Second, all the theta type questions. Every year you have like 5 questions approximately of theta type. ठीक है. तो theta type questions आपके सारे verbal ability में ही आते हैं. ठीक है. So in theta type questions you don't have any negative marking, so you can afford to get some of these questions wrong, and like you won't have the negative marking a threat. Okay. So that is one. Then if you look at the last few years, my take on the last few years is that the difficulty level of verbal ability is slightly lower as compared to the difficulty of reading comprehension. तो मुझे लगता है कि ये कंपैरेटिवली थोड़े से इजी होते हैं. ओके, थोड़े से इजी होते हैं. ठीक है. ऐसा नहीं कि सारे इजी होते हैं, बट देन सम ऑफ दीज क्वेश्चंस आर एक्चुअली इजी एंड लाइक यू कैन इजीली manage to do those questions, and like if you are really good with summary, or if you're really good with let's say odd one out and paragraph completion, you can actually get a good score in these questions. Okay, so now let me take you through the type of questions that we have on CAT, and let me give you my assessment of all these questions. Okay, so let me start with the parajumbles. Okay, तो parajumble से हम लोग थोड़ा सा बातचीत start करते हैं. ठीक है, let me start with the parajumbles. अब देखो parajumbles में in CAT you don't get options, right? Okay, so in CAT you don't have any options given to you in the parajumbles, but then again in parajumbles you also don't have negative marking. ठीक है, तो एक positive भी है एक negative भी है. My take is that when it comes to parajumbles you don't have to do all 4 parajumbles that you get in the exam, or let's say if you get 3 parajumbles you don't have to do all 3, but then select the ones that you think you are confident about and you can do them. Even if you get them wrong you don't have any negative marking, so you should always try these questions. Summary based questions. Guys, I think these questions are very very scoring. ठीक है, summary based questions बहुत scoring होते हैं. Give enough practice to summary based questions because you will always get an accuracy of around 80 to 85% on summary based questions. I think this is one section that you can really dominate. Odd one out. अब यार ये section जो है ना, it's very similar to parables. But the good thing about odd one out is that you don't have to really work or imagine all those combinations that can be possible, right? अब ये चीज समझो. If I do not give you any options on parables, then there is a huge variety of options that you can create. So let's say I don't give you any options and like there are four sentences, one, two, three, four, five sentences हैं, ठीक है. आप उनको 5 फैक्टोरियल वेज में अरेंज कर सकते हो, ठीक है. आप कितने कॉम्बिनेशन बना सकते हो, 5 4 3 2 1 3 2 1 4 5, like there can be n number of ways in which you can arrange these sentences, and obviously that creates a very risky situation because like you may end up getting the combination wrong and it obviously takes time as well. In the case of odd one out, you just have to select which option is not a part of the overall discussion. So guys, this is a very scoring area because यहाँ पे ना आपके पास वो pressure नहीं है कि you have to make combinations, right? You have to just take out one option which you think does not belong to the like you know the to that whole thing, okay, to that entire discussion, and like that one option would actually be the answer. So this is comparatively easy, right? Okay, और आपको इसमें अच्छा accuracy आ जाता है, ठीक है. I think this is one question type that you should absolutely do. It has a good level of accuracy, very important. Paragraph completion. Now guys, paragraph completion simply means that you have a certain paragraph, you have the ending missing, and then once you decipher the overall discussion and the flavor of the discussion, okay, you can complete the discussion by choosing the appropriate ending, ठीक है. अब यहाँ पे देखो, मैं एक ही चीज बोलना चाहता हूँ, ठीक है. There is one thing that I would like to tell you here. Paragraph completion questions are easy if you understand the motive, the agenda, the flavor, the tone, the overall thought process of the author who has made the question, ठीक है. अगर मुझे वो चीज समझ में आ गई तो मुझे पता चल जाएगा कि किस डायरेक्शन में डिस्कशन मूव हो रहा है. Now normally the suggestion is that you should not change the direction of discussion in whatever direction the discussion is already flowing, okay, and then according to that you have to choose an ending. Now this is something that is easier said than done बिकॉज हम नहीं जज कर पाते बहुत इजीली कि किस डायरेक्शन में और किस मोटिव के साथ ऑथर वो डिस्कशन लिख रहा है या बना रहा है, ठीक है. सो गाइज, इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट दैट यू गिव एनफ प्रैक्टिस टू दीज क्वेश्चंस बिकॉज दीज क्वेश्चंस इफ प्रैक्टिस्ड प्रॉपर्ली can also give you a good level of accuracy. Okay, so this is one question type again which I will say you should absolutely attend, and it will have a good accuracy assuming that you have given enough practice, ठीक है. Apart from that, obviously we have teeter type questions. Teeter type questions में mainly आपके questions आते हैं parajimbals के, और parajimbals के अंदर मैंने आपसे यही चीज की बात की कि parajimbals में options को match करना, combine करना मुश्किल होता है, but then you also have the benefit that there is no negative marking, right? So there's a plus, like there's a positive to it and then there is a negative to it. Okay, but then yes, you should try it, right? You should try it because even if you get the question wrong you still don't have any negative marking, right? तो guys, overall अपन क्या बोल सकते हैं, देखो दो चीजें मैंने अभी यहाँ पे कही. overall verbal strategy में verbal ability has a very big role to play. Verbal ability का difficulty level is slightly lower than reading comprehension, so verbal ability is one section where you can absolutely dominate. And when it comes to reading comprehension, it has a long term strategy and a short term strategy. Long term strategy involves regular reading habits of the genres that get usually asked in the exams, and short term strategy is more about time management and focusing on mocks and all that, ठीक है. स्टार्टिंग में मैं एक चीज बोल देता हूं आपको कि मुझे लगता है कि स्टार्टिंग में you don't have to focus that much on the per question का time limit, because like guys, if you get bogged down by that sense of like, okay, this is the usual suggested time for this question, then the problem is that you won't be able to focus or work on the accuracy part, ठीक है. तो उससे ना आपका ओवरऑल प्रिपरेशन कॉम्प्रोमाइज हो जाएगा, ठीक है. तो मेरा एक बहुत जेन्युइन सजेशन है आपको कि स्टार्टिंग में आप टाइम लिमिट का फोकस थोड़ा सा पीछे कर दो एंड जस्ट फोकस ऑन अंडरस्टैंडिंग, just focus on comprehension, just focus on like whether or not you can actually make sense of the question and like just answer the question rather than getting under the stress of time management. Okay, so guys, coming to the last part of discussion. Okay, what to do with grammar and vocabulary, right? Now there are few things I would like to take here. अब देखो, vocabulary and grammar have not been asked in CAT for the last few years. Okay, so one argument that many people may give is that यार vocab and grammar तो CAT में जब आता ही नहीं है तो पढ़ना क्यों है? ठीक है, अब देखो मेरा यहाँ पे दो तीन आर्ग्यूमेंट्स है जो मैं इसके अगेंस्ट में देना चाहूंगा. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, as a student you are not only writing CAT, you are also planning for ZAT. Okay, you are also planning for SNAP, you are also planning for CMAT. Okay, some of you are also planning for MAT. Okay, IIFT भी है. ठीक है, मतलब बहुत सारे एग्जाम्स है, NMAT है, IIFT है. उन सब एग्जाम्स के अंदर वोकैबुलरी और ग्रामर आता है. ठीक है, अब यहाँ पे बहुत से लोगों का एक आर्गुमेंट हो सकता है कि वो बोलेंगे कि सर पहले कैट की तैयारी कर लेते हैं फिर वोकैब ग्रामर पढ़ लेंगे. गाइस, इट डज नॉट हैपन लाइक दैट. In order to master vocabulary and grammar, okay, to that extent that you are able to handle the questions of OMATs, other management entrance exams, you need a sizable level of preparation. And in order for that size to build up, you need time. ऐसा नहीं हो सकता कि आपने नवंबर एंड में कैट का एग्जाम लिखा और जब कैट हो गया, ठीक है, जब कैट हो गया तो आपने सोचा कि चलो यार अब वर्बल में वोकैबुलरी और ग्रामर को इंक्लूड कर लेते हैं. ऐसा नहीं हो सकता, बिकॉज तब तक बहुत टाइम हो जाएगा. वोकैबुलरी में in order to perform to a decent level, you need approximately 5,000 to 6,000 competitive exam level ke words. Similarly, in the grammar also, we find that there are at least around 20 to 25 topics that we need to master. Okay, 20-25 topics आप एकदम से कैट के बाद नहीं कर सकते. ठीक है, सो आपके पास पूरा पार्ट ऑफ स्पीच है, फिगर ऑफ स्पीच है, इडियम्स है, फ्रेजल वर्ब्स है, दुनिया भर की चीजें. एंड गाइस, इफ एज अ 2021 एस्पिरेंट अगर आप ये सोच रहे हो कि कैट कर लेते हैं पहले और कैट जब हो जाएगा तो कैट के बाद हम प्रिपरेशन स्टार्ट करेंगे, गाइस, यू आर मिस्टेकन, बिकॉज you will be under a lot of pressure. And assuming, let's take a scenario that CAT does not go well, then you will be in a situation where you would not exactly know what to do. ठीक है, क्योंकि अब आपके साथ सिचुएशन ये होगी, कैट तो बिगड़ गया, अब आगे के जो ओमैट्स हैं उनके लिए जो सिलेबस है वो आपने प्रिपेयर किया नहीं. ठीक है, एनमैट, स्नैप, जैट, ओके, ऑल दीज एग्जाम्स दे फीचर a very different type of content, right? Okay, like you require a very different type of strategy, you require a different type of content for all this, right? ठीक है, तो यार मुझे नहीं लगता कि भाई आप लास्ट मोमेंट पे उस चीज को करोगे तो इट विल मेक सेंस फॉर यू, राइट? ठीक है, तो यू हैव टू प्लान अकॉर्डिंगली. ओके, यू हैव टू कंसिडर ऑल दोस एग्जाम्स आल्सो, एंड vocab is also important for solving passages. Okay, so I think all of you realize this, that without having a good vocabulary you cannot actually handle even passages. ठीक है, तो vocab का तो importance वहां पे भी है. ठीक है, now I'm not going to get into details, but let me just tell you 2-3 pieces of advice for both vocabulary and grammar. ठीक है, तो vocab में guys, these are my like some pieces of advice from my side. देखो vocab में one thing you have to remember